those who know how to leak papers are far more intelligent than those who are giving those exams.
First and foremost, the government must be made accountable for these exams.
If fairness is compromised, then as a professional class, they have no leg to stand on.
Do we really need to centralize all these exams?
This instance of the NEET exams, um, it's not that only in India people are going to say, "Oh wow, we've had one instance of a examination, a paper leak," but this cascades into how others in different countries view the Indian professional capacity and class.
Hello and welcome back. I am Rajesh Mahapatra and you are watching Tracking Trends. There has been a nationwide outrage over leak of question papers for the much sought after National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test (NEET). This is the fourth time that there has been a paper leak relating to NEET. But as we speak, there have been more than 80 instances, at least more than 80 instances of various exam paper leaks, bulk of which, of course, relate to examinations for job recruitment. But what is worrying is that the frequency and the scale of such paper leaks have been rising by the day. Is this a problem or is this a crisis? That's the question we are asking today. And joining me in studio is my special guest for the day, Professor Rohan D'Souza from the Kyoto University in Japan. But before I go over to Professor D'Souza, my request as always, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do so right away. Press the bell button so that you get notified every time we have a new show. Stay with us. Rohan, welcome back to our show. Rohan teaches at the South Asian Affairs Department in Kyoto University. He tracks the developments in Indian education sector very closely. You have heard him on our show before. There was a fantastic show we had on the Galgotia scam. You all liked it, and I'm sure you're going to like the insights he's going to share today. Rohan, let me start by asking you the question: is this a problem or a crisis?
Very briefly, Mahapatra, this is a crisis because reputational damage is very hard to fix. Even if, I'm sure they will finally find out who has leaked the paper and the entire modus operandi of this. But if you think in terms of reputation, this is a very, very serious damage. These exams are very linked to the reproduction of the Indian professional classes, doctors, engineers, bureaucrats. This is a professional class. And this professional class, of course, will argue that they achieve whatever they achieve based on their merit through education. But more centrally is the whole issue of fairness. If fairness is compromised, then as a professional class, they have no leg to stand on, right? So if you are a business person's child, it's not a question of fairness. It's a question of your family's reputation and experience. But professional classes across the world, not only in India, they reproduce themselves through testing systems, which have to come across as being fair. Now, if fairness itself is questionable and does not actually inspire how people achieve what they achieve as engineers or doctors, then there is long-term damage.
In other words, what you are saying is that the professional class ceases to have the capacity to reproduce itself
Yes, and convince others that they have achieved what they have based on merit.
based on merit.
Yeah. Now, for example, one of the things that's very clear is that last year the last time the NEET happened, there was no allegations of this sort. Yeah, but how are we to assume that actually something might have happened, but one just did not get caught, right? So now, whether there is an incident or not an incident, there will always be a doubt whether everyone approached this exam with the exact level playing field that is required. Yeah. So,
The, the 80 instances I cited from the
yes,
past 10 years are the ones that are reported where somebody trying to leak the paper or somebody having succeeded in leaking the paper got caught. Uh, what you are saying, there could have been as many cases or even more that have gone unreported, uh,
we don't know.
unspotted.
We don't
And
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, these 80 instances itself, which is at least 8 instances a year,
Yeah.
itself is a stunning number. It's a very worrying number. And what you are saying that there could be even more instances which have gone unreported. I mean,
No,
we really
I'm not exactly saying that, Mahapatra. What I'm saying is this: that if you think there's no fairness, if you think that the system is a failed one, then even instances where the exams have not had a kind of incident like this, people can still doubt.
there could be an element of doubt.
Doubt.
Yes,
There could be an element of doubt, and because there is now reputational damage. So even instances where it's conducted properly, one could always say, yeah, this time they didn't catch someone, but who knows if it actually happened. So that is the problem of reputational damage. But I want to say something more as well. That is to say that this instance of the NEET exams, um, it's not that only in India people are going to say, "Oh, wow, we've had one instance of a examination a paper leak," but this cascades into how others in different countries view the Indian professional capacity and class. So the damage is not just in India, right?
damage is
Uh,
outside.
uh, Different universities across the world will begin to suspect the quality of students that are coming out from your testing systems. So it
we
is a,
we we
it's very,
already we already face that. Several countries do not recognize our medical degrees, so and do not allow our medical science graduates to practice there unless they go through certain other tests over there. That's already happening in several countries.
yeah. In
Um,
Australia recently, in Australia, I should point this out. There have been massive students visa rejections of Indian students, and central to that is the claim that many of the degrees are fake. Many of the claims are fake. Yeah. So this is reputational damage, which is very hard to fix once it sticks, right?
Reputational damage that is hard to fix. But tell me, if the professional class gets constrained to reproduce itself, what kind of a bearing it has on social mobility?
Let me break that question down a bit more, Mahapatra. First of all, um, look at this examination system.
I mean,
I'm not
because
saying,
just for the convenience of our audience,
yeah,
why I'm asking this question, because these are the exams where what class you come from, uh, what caste you come from. To some extent, the disadvantages that you might have get evened out. If you crack these exams, you are on par with people from other classes, right? So in a way, these exams also, irrespective of the deficiencies they have, we can have criticism around the education system, but they do serve as one window where people from lower classes can actually move up the ladder, right? So these also are very important for social mobility. And if these exams are losing their fairness, it should definitely be having a bearing on the prospects of social mobility in the country, right?
so Mahapatra, let me fix that properly. So it's something like this: a professional class does not depend on inheritance, depends on merit, which is established by testing. Number one. Number two, the professional classes also would basically benefit from diversity. That is to say that It's not only if my family is a bunch of engineers, then only they will produce engineers. No, they can produce doctors, they can produce lawyers, they can produce accountants, and so on and so forth. Similarly, what you want to do to keep your professional class kind of diverse is to also be able to have social mobility amongst those who are marginal, those who are financially not necessarily sound, and those who have aspirations and want to do well in life, right? So the professional classes are supposed to pull from various parts of society, and they can only pull these different constituents and elements in society if there is a fairness, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, what seems to be happening is not only reputational damage because it's not appearing to be fair, but secondly, I think this whole question of social mobility will be badly compromised if you don't have a testing system that at least appears to be fair, right?
Mm.
So we have I mean, that's why back again to your question. This seems to be a crisis by any estimate. It's not simply a problem to fix on for 2026. Yeah, there will have to be a great overall about how this system can function for the professional classes.
Yeah. Now, you see, these people who are involved or who are found to be involved in these paper leaks, it seems they invest a lot of time and money to actually lay their hands on these question papers. Now, obviously, this is a business. They're in a way kind of investing money in this activity with the hope that they will reap a rich harvest. It will pay off very well. And it will pay off very well because there is a market for it. There is a lot of desperation to crack these exams. Why do we see this in India? We don't see this anywhere. 22 lakh students for one
Well,
exam. That's not a joke.
you know, let me put it slightly differently. There is a question of middle class jobs that is at stake. Most people, many of us, all of us including, we don't, I mean, we think that's a good location to be in society, a professional middle class location. Yeah. However, what one is seeing over the years, and not just in India, many parts of the world, but it's playing out in a very serious fashion in India. Look at how these exams have created an architecture. All these coaching institutes, okay? Now, a coaching institute has nothing to do with education.
Right?
It's basically a cram school. It is based on forcing students to have a big hard drive, big memories. Yeah.
Rote
They
learning.
Yeah, rote learning. So it is not a intellectual dialogue that's going on in coaching institutes. Yeah, what you're getting is really, here are what questions are probable that may appear, and here are what your probable answers are. Go for it. Just remember. Yeah, and so I feel that, if you look at what's happening in many of these, there are the Jaipur, if I'm not mistaken, there are these places now that have become huge coaching.
Kota in Rajasthan.
Kota in Rajasthan. Yeah,
These are the
yeah,
places.
yeah.
And all these paper leaks are being traced to these places.
So many of these coaching institutes are very rapacious in how much money they're charging, and they're putting these aspirants, and I refuse to use the word students here, they're putting these aspirants through almost military style drills. There have been various reports of suicides, high pressure, and what is even more galling is that a lot of this is meaningless. After the exams are over, none of this is really of any benefit. So if you have not cracked the exam, you have a memory of a lot of facts that have got no consequence or bearing in life. So what is really another level of this crisis is that uh, merit is being held hostage by coaching institutes,
Right?
right? It doesn't make sense at all. And I would like to add another thing. Uh, Coaching institutes are run on market principles. They want to make money. Fair enough. By that same logic, they would like to also get the question papers in advance,
Hmm.
right? So there is inbuilt into this examination system a set of contradictions that are woven in. That is, the people who are coaching you are also interested in basically cheating the system, right? If I get 20 people from my coaching institute, I can charge a higher amount of money, right? And if I can just manage to get those questions and get more of my aspirants or candidates into uh, through the exam, I can charge more. So
And
I'm
then
just
they become the face of your marketing campaign the following year. I
there is
mean,
a
we see that all the time.
yeah, there is a structured contradiction. There is a structured violence in terms of the kinds of pressures that they're putting on these children. And I would say there is this really false equivalence between exams and intelligence, right? So you need a serious overhaul of this of what uh, you know. Do you want to really produce people who are educated, or you want to produce people who basically have a small hard drive? For memory storage, right? So this is something to seriously worry. I think the Indian project of professionalism and how it's going to recruit people into its professional ranks. I think if this continues, that is going to start wobbling, and it's going to become something be that will break on under its own weight, and the Indian middle class is going to be the direct victims of this. I was watching a lot of the TV programs, and I was seeing a lot of young people saying, I put in so much time, I put in so much effort, I put in so much energy. Now I'm dispirited, and so on. So rightfully so. But what they are not quite getting is that what they are training themselves for is equally sort of tragic. You see?
Very right.
Yeah.
Very right.
So this is the problem.
Very right. I
Yeah.
mean,
Or crisis, I
we
should
are,
say.
we are
Yeah.
chasing things in the wrong direction. Rohan, tell me, in Japan,
Mm.
you have a national entrance tests for people wanting to come in and enroll in their universities. We have never heard of any such scam. The United States conducts, the most sought after exam globally, the
Mm.
SAT, the GRE, the GMAT. They have been going on for years. They are held across the world. They are also outsourced to different agencies. We have never heard any such scam. The Britain, multiple times they hold these tests worldwide for English language certification.
Mm.
Uh, and a country like India, which fashions itself as a Vishwaguru, why do you think we have not been able to fix it? Is it because, and even at home, we haven't had any such instance with the UPSC exam. We haven't had any such instance with the joint entrance exam for the IIT. But it's with the rest of the things we keep hearing about these paper leaks. Why do you think the government has not been able to fix it? Is it not interested in fixing it?
Um, I don't really have a very big answer to this, Mahapatra, but I suspect the following: that, like in Japan or even SAT, TOEFL, wherever there is no big coaching institute kind of architecture, and where the exams are more decentralized, right? Okay, not in the case of SAT and TOEFL, but in Japan, for example, Kyoto University will organize its own exams, right? So it's very controlled locally. There's no way you can coach for this. Yeah, all right. So what seems to be happening is that it's how you design the exam architecture around. So, for example, to come to something that both of us are familiar with, when JNU used to hold its own exams, you never had a leak. There's no point, nor could anyone prepare for it technically. Yeah, because each department, each center, each faculty had its special sets of questions. Yeah, and it was based on the fact that you wanted to pick up some sort of a natural intelligence, not something that was trained, right? Uh, so right now, what is happening is even when people go through coaching institutes and they train for these exams, you're not sure whether it's natural intelligence, it's somebody who's bright, or it just happens to be that you paid a lot of money to a coaching institute, they have trained you how to handle the exams, so therefore your natural intelligence doesn't show in the exam, you see.
So,
And
so
I think they're also having this problem. By the way, they are getting, since they have these exams, they're giving these tests, IIT tests, whatever. Yeah,
JEE.
JE tests. Yeah, they are getting very standardized people,
Yeah.
right? So,
So,
so we have to. This is a cause for great worry,
was-
and my humble submission is that we shouldn't pose this simply about how to prevent um, paper leaks. That actually is only one aspect of a larger crisis. All right, and I think at the heart of this, uh, you need professionals now to step in and figure a way out.
the genesis of a national test agency actually began in the UPA2 era. In 2013, for the first time, the idea was floated by who? By our babus who love centralizing everything so that it gives them great power. And it was then proposed that NTA would have a chairman who would be an eminent educationist. It would have a CEO who will be appointed by the government, but eventually, in all such organizations, the CEOs, when you say that has to be appointed by government, eventually ends up becoming an IAS officer. And then members of all these institutions for whom this National Test Agency will conduct tests, they are also part of this board. The reality is the NTA has a very skeletal structure. It really doesn't have the bandwidth. It outsources the conduct of these examinations. And what I have learned in recent times, that these private vendors, when they transport question papers to various centers, how are they doing it? What are the safeguards they are taking? There is absolutely no oversight. People have no clue. And that's where things are going wrong. In other words, entrance examination on which, the future of lakhs of students rest or job aspirants rest are being outsourced to private vendors who are not verified adequately. Nobody knows who are these companies. If you file an RTI, I'm not sure whether. And the other thing which you would notice if you go through all those scams, Rohan, that uh, there has not been a job recruitment exam scam that has been reported from South India. These are mostly Hindi belt phenomenon. So, which kind of uh, validates the desperation to get a secure government job in the absence of anything else that the economy is producing to meet the aspirations of our people. So you're right. It's a crisis, and it's a crisis not just limited to the education sector. It's a crisis which is somewhere reflecting what's also happening with the economy. Let me ask you the last question, and then I will let you go. Do we really need to centralize all these exams?
I have to answer this slightly indirectly. First of all, we must understand exams have nothing to do with education. It's very important to understand this difference. Okay, preparing for an exam and actually getting an education are two completely different things. Number one. Number two is, what do these job agencies want? Do they want educated people, or do they want people who know how to crack exams? Another bigger question. And I'm not being philosophical here. Three, you raised a very good point about decentralized, management of exams. Decentralization happens when you are willing to understand and acknowledge that there is no standardized testing which will get everyone that you need, right? So different parts of uh, competencies or different competencies will require different kinds of people, right? Um, I don't. I think what one will have to actually somehow understand and agree on is that we'll have to overcome this exam-oriented way of thinking, and even in terms of how we are going to put, conduct recruitments, get jobs, we have to figure out a um, uh, more viable, at one level, more intelligent way of doing it, but also getting the best person who is not a victim of a coaching institute. Yeah. So I think this is a time to rethink. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you are simply postponing the crisis to another time when again something like this will happen, and then we'll be back to saying the same things. Yeah. And who's caught? And the thing to really understand is that clearly those who know how to leak papers are far more intelligent than those who are giving those exams.
Absolutely. Very well
That's
said.
tragedy.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said.
All right.
They are
Yeah.
probably more intelligent than the people who are also setting the exams, the
Yeah.
government.
Clearly, street smartness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we have covered a fair bit. Yet, I think there are still issues and pointers on which we could probably have a future dialogue going further into the depth of things. But for now, what I gather, first and foremost, the government must be made accountable for these exams because it involves the future of millions of our students, the future of millions of our young people who are aspiring for jobs. And there has to be 80 instances in 10 years every year, nearly a dozen instances of paper leaks. It's not acceptable, and the government cannot shy away from it. The government has to be made accountable for it. The second, I think, is it is probably time we rethink uh, you know our approach toward having centralized examination systems. It is time we explore going back to the very decentralized system that we had, which worked perfectly well and which probably is more sustainable and durable in the longer term. Lastly, the most important point that Rohan brought out was the distinction between examination and education. Examination is not education. Cracking an exam doesn't mean getting rightfully educated. Coaching institutes help you prepare for exams. They are not necessarily educating you. Education happens in schools and colleges, which is where we need to focus. And over the last few decades, the coaching institutes have really come to undermine our education systems. It is time we need to do something about this rot that has set into our system. That's the most important takeaway from Rohan today. Thank you very much, Rohan, for your time and for your lucid explanation of things as they stand today. We hope to see you back soon.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
much. Thank you.